Well, today it's a Murphy DS602. We don't get many of these, so I dug that's the remote on the floor. So I have a copy of the instruction book on file, and I printed off the front cover so we know what it looks like. And it also is the same as the York JCB867. So we all know how well the Yorks 861 and 863 work, and the 869 base station, which all use the Cybernet 134 chassis. But don't be fooled into thinking the York 867 is of similar quality, because it is a Murphy DS602. I think really the only letdown is the squelch. It's competent enough set, and it's out of the same factory as those JWRM2s and the ICOM ICB1, is it? Something like that. Let me just say, it says ICOM on it. It is nothing to do with the communications company ICOM, who make ham radio equipment and marine radios. Nothing whatever to do with them. It's just a matter of using a brand name. It's like producing something today in China which says his master's voice on it, and it's just come out of a Chinese factory. It means nothing. So there's a lot of fakery always gone along. We've no service manual for either, and I've never bothered making any notes because I managed to wade my way around these things. These were made in Korea, and they were made by J.J. Silber, as far as I remember. And they were made for Great Universal Mail Order Catalogue. Now, as you know, the mail order catalogues in the UK, I'm talking about the ones where you can pay by easy terms if you so wish, often interest free, and like 20 weeks at so much per week. Some of these are agency and some of them are personal catalogues, and they have clothes and furniture, and at this point they had CB radios, and these were made for Great Universal. If I remember right, they were $69.99. Now the customer reports this as being muffled. I love this. Can you please service my Murphy DS602? All works but low power, but doing low power, and reported as being muffled. Good. Now I remember that these are usually very clear. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just test it before taking it apart at all. I've just looked at the mic chart. This is one I downloaded. I did produce one, and it was in Citizens Band magazine, probably about 1985. I can't even find my sample copy, but I did a magazine article which was the same. And they've also gone to what colours are in some particular mics, but that's irrelevant to us. So it's number one, which is the Cybernet one. So we know we're going to use a Cybernet microphone, standard wired microphone is what I mean. So I'll just zoom in on this if I'm on the right camera. Let's see if we can see Murphy. Yeah, Murphy Mobile it says. Base station is Spirit 40F in a big box, so that's not the same. So you could buy Murphy transistor radios and Murphy televisions, but this isn't the old Murphy, this isn't the Bush Murphy, this is the Great Universal who'd bought the brand by that time. They don't want you to think it's like Grandma's Radiogram, which was a real Murphy. So it's pin out 1 and pin out 1 is that one. So we'll get our microphone which says Cybernet on it, because there is one. I probably sent it back with the radio. You know, that's the kind of stupid thing I'd do. There we go. We have a selection of microphones, and that one I've put Cybernet on. Right, we'll return the camera to its normal position. And we'll connect it up to the test set. Mr. Chippie went for a 6-mile walk today, which turned out to be a 7-mile walk, and he'd got a problem with one of his walking boots, so he used the company Bostik adhesive 2 days ago to glue the sole on at the front, and then he clamped it in the vise for 2 days. Well, he's done his. I tell you what, he's done his 7 miles, and his shoes haven't played up at all. So he's going to get a job fixing shoes, I think, these days. Now we haven't got a power lead handy on the bench, so we'll connect our crocodile clips. I'll just have to check where we're connecting them to. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Get the meter on it. One probe to chassis, one probe to there, other probe to there. So that is the one going to earth. So the positive is the one which the pin's on its own, and the negative is the one behind the second pin, if you get me. So positive is the one on its own, and negative is down there. I could have power leads on every, you know, all over the place, but you know, I don't. It's more fun doing it this way. I'm about to do a video on doing some 24-volt dropper repairs, and I'll show you the kind of power supply we use on that video. Hopefully do that today. So switched it on, it's on 19, no, change that to 20. Unfortunately it's got a white LED in it. I'll let that go. It annoys me, but it's not my set to be annoyed at. So straight away we've got 2 capacitors which need changing. Zoom in on that. So I think it's been overvolted at some time. So if you look, and this would normally affect bigger capacitors, but that, the heat shrink tubing on it has really receded, and that wasn't far out. So we're going to change both those. Not going to change them before we've tested the set. And these are things I'm visually looking for all the time. I tell you what, that's not far behind either. So I don't know what's happened, but I think somebody's had more than 16 volts on this at one point. So if he reports it being muffled, that can be for several reasons. And one of those, it could be off frequency. We're going to find that out in a moment. So we'll switch picture in picture on. Yes, it's there. And the sounds here, which is more than it was for the audio line 341, so we could only show the on the air test yesterday. Right, so I'm going to key it up. I'll start off on the 3 watt scale, so it should be full scale deflection. It's more than 3 watts. He was concerned about the power. It's actually doing 3.3 watts. So using yesterday's piece of paper, which was already a second-hand piece of paper, Murphy DS602. I'll switch the soldering iron on, ready to unsolder that speaker, but at least you get a decent bit of wire on that. It's TX 3.6 watts. Look at deviation. Wallow 1.5. So that would be a problem. Put the frequency counter up. So we're looking for 27.79125, 27.79112. That's not even worth bothering with, it's so close. But we will bother with it. And I'll do that right now because it's not going to affect our receive test. So the difference between these, the York 867, and then I mentioned the ICOM, or whatever it should be, OneCom, and the JWR, they use a different synthesizer. So this uses the Sanyo LC7137, whereas the other one uses a general purpose Motorola one, which is a swine setup because you've got a transmit and receive crystal to also, you've got the crystal mixers, which also have to be set up, one of which has to be done with the marker oscillator. So they are a pain in the what's it to set up, whereas these aren't. So we'll just pop that onto frequency. I was going to say I might not even get it closer than what I'm going to leave it there, 27.79124. So I've done that. So now when I set the signal generator, I'll set it to the proper frequency of 27.79125. Switch the sound meter on. We'll go to that. So I want 12 dB on there. Fun enough, it was on 12. Once again, we're between scales. That's showing 1 microvolt. Let's go on the other scale, and it's showing 1.05 microvolts. So we'll give it that one. Rx equals 1.05 microvolts for 12 dB synad. Now if you remember, we did the audio line 341, and they're not the most sensitive sets in the world. I think it went out doing 0.92 microvolts for 12 decibel synad. Now the instruction book says for these that it should be better than 1 microvolt for 10 dB synad. Well, it already is. And there's 10. I can actually change scales. Out there, it's actually doing, I'll put that down, it's doing 0.85 microvolts for 10 dB, and we'll do 20 just for the laugh. We like giggles on this channel. And it's doing just a shade under 3, so we'll give it 2.95 for 20 dB, and that's all down to noise. It doesn't really matter an iota. So this is already receiving better than the manufacturer says before we start. So its biggest letdown is low deviation. Before I dare do anything, I'd better change these capacitors. I'm going to change 3. 1, 2, and 3. I'm not trying to screw some more money out of the guy, but I don't want this back next week. and I think it's going to sound awful, because I wouldn't be at all surprised if they're not in the kind of section which we're talking about, and part of why he sounds his muffled. Let's just listen on our monitor receiver. Testing 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1. Yeah, well, we'll compare that later. So I'll just stop the video. Right, he's just come back from Mr. Chippie's department. He's done the capacitor replacements, and he's changed that one, and that one. Interesting anomaly. He says that's in the wrong way round. I said, now we don't have a circuit. So what we've done is we've opened up our sample set, which is why we have one of each set. And our sample set is also the wrong way round. So just warning to anybody, the way the board's labelled, this capacitor goes in the opposite way. So that's clearly an anomaly that they've corrected in production, but all the boards were made and labelled. So there we are. So let's see whether it sounds any different. Check it's now on channel 9. Right. So switch on our monitor receiver. Remember, I haven't done any tune-up, no deviation. Testing 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1. Well, doesn't sound great to me, but there we are. Right, so let's start a tune-up. So we're not going to be touching the VCO, so we'll start. I would think that's going to be. I would think we're doing transmit, 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 and up there. I can't see that one affecting transmit, so I'll leave it alone and we'll check it on receive. That's peaked. That's peaked. That's peaked. Transmit's dropping down as it does when you warm up. So we've now got 3.6 watts, which is where we started, but now it's warm. It's just doing 4 watts. Just go back on this one. Yep. Good. Well, I'm glad it's doing full power. I'm going to get the Zetagi meter out, because I know how you like to see how many Zetagi watts the radio's doing. Now, where have I put that? No, I don't know where we've put that. How bizarre. Okay, well, if I find it, I'll let you know. Got you all hyped up. So let's see what it's doing on low power and whether that's adjustable. You know, I've not been showing you the right meter. Okay, so there's 4 watts. As it's now cooled down a bit, it's doing 4.05. So on low power, it's doing 0.55. I mean, that's fine, but it's we'd like it to be the 0.4 it's supposed to be. And I don't know if it is adjustable on these radios. I think we've got meter and meter there. I presume that missing capacitor is supposed to be missing. Yes, it is. So we're going to have RF meter, S meter, deviation and squelch. And I can't see anything else. So where do we think deviation is going to be? Well, let's see if it's that one. Let's get the oscillator out. Wallow, 1, 2, wallow. Just a fraction more. One, two, wallow. That's it. 2.2 to 2.5. So, one of these is going to be the RF meter, I'm absolutely sure. That's there. I think that's going to be the squelch. So we'll forget about the low power. So we'll switch the radio back to high power. I'll better just check the deviations the same. Wallow, 1, 2, yeah, that's fine. Shouldn't make any difference, but you never know. So on high power, one of those is going to be the meter. It's actually where it should be, to be honest. Yeah, and it is. So we've got deviation, RF power output. So that's going to be the S meter, and that's going to be the squelch. So I'm happy we've done the transmitter. Just turn to the receiver. As we usually do, we're going to start by putting an S9 signal on. And we'll go over to the oscilloscope. We'll turn the volume till we get a satisfactory waveform. And then we'll play it Hunt the Detector. So, I would suspect it's this one. I'm wrong. In which case, I'd suspect it's this one. It is. And it was already spot on. Now, I'm just going to fiddle with that one. Okay, fiddling over. So go to the cyanide meter. And we'll, as usual, go for 4 dB. So we're not saturating the receiver. So I would suspect that the front end starts here. Oh, there's an improvement. I'm just going to check this coil, which we looked at, just in case it affects it. It doesn't. So we'll drop the attenuator again, go for the next coil, just going to turn the signal up because sometimes they show better on a higher signal, and that one does. So that wasn't really out. Check that with a low signal. Check it with a high signal. And then ones that we've started off with. That really affects the quality. That's IF. There we are, we're covered. So let's see whether we've got any more out of the receiver. It looked like we did. So there's 12 dB. So before we had 1.05 and we've got 1.05. 10 dB is there. Before I tuned it, I'll change scales for that. There's 10 dB. I had 0.85 and I've got 0.85. And then on 20 dB, I like to think we're going to gain something there. Looks to be 3 microvolts, which is exactly where it was before. It was 2.95. It is. So there's been no change. It looked like it was improving on the instruments, but there's no discernible improvement. So it is better than what the manufacturer says. So that is absolutely fine. That's now doing 4 watts. And that is now doing 2.2 to 2.5 kilohertz, and we've changed those 4 capacitors. So until we hear what it sounds like on an on-the-air test, testing 1 2, testing 1 2 3 4 5. It's difficult to know what it sounds like. I think Mr. Chippie's in the next room, and I might be able to talk to him from here to the Harrier base station, just from the dummy load. So I think we'll just see if I can do that. I'll just turn the signal generator to standby. We still have the squelch to do. Let's just see whether we can talk to Mr. Chippie over the dummy load. Mr. Chippie, do you copy me over the dummy load?
Yep, roger that, receiving you.
Okay, yeah. What does this sound like?
Pretty clear actually. Volume-wise, I'm not sure. If you had another set just to hand, just to call me on, maybe a handheld, just to compare it.
Tango 21 on the Capo Panther handheld.
Yep, roger, that's very clear, roughly the same volume.
Yeah, it's just with him reporting it was muffled, but it was very low deviation. So there we go. We'll go back to the video. Thank you.
Was that back on that set now?
Yeah, this is back on the Murphy. So that's kind of 2 inches from my mouth, and that's talking into it loudly over.
Yeah, no, it sounds great actually.
Good. Looks like we've solved the problem with the capacitors then. Right, thank you.
Roger that. 10-10.
10-10. We've never done that before. Mind you, he's not normally in that room. He's poised on a computer, sniping some guitar amplifier on eBay. Right, so we squelch, and this is where these sets let you down. So we're going to put the squelch to maximum, as we always will do. I'll put this to the attenuator, put the picture back on. And what I like is on full squelch for me to be able to squelch out 100 microvolts, which is S9, except it never does that on these. 1, 3, there you are, it's in at 3 microvolts. So that's going to be the squelch preset. No, it's not. It's low power. So there isn't a squelch preset. That's what you get. What you see is what you get. So let's just reiterate. We've got transmit meter, receive meter, deviation, and low power. So I've now got the proper 400 milliwatts. So I can show you that. So on low power we've got 400 milliwatts. And then if I go to the 30 watt scale and then switch back to high power, we've got a full 4 watts there. So there we are, that's working properly. So I knew there was something which lets down the squelch, and it is that, and it's 3 microvolts is the maximum it's going to squelch out. Might not matter these days, but we'll see how that goes on an aerial. So there we have it. There's nothing more we can do to that. So it came in with receive, which was beyond what the manufacturer said it would do, and it's going out with exactly the same receive, but it has been retuned. Transmit has been brought up from 3.6 to 4 watts, deviation's been corrected, and the 4 capacitors we've changed. Hopefully we've sorted out the muffled audio problem. Yeah, I'm sure that Capo Panther sounds a better set. It's current model, isn't it, just about, if it isn't. Right, so I'll put the lids on this and we'll just have a flick around. Right, so we're now on the aerial, which I keep saying is an Antron 99 type of thing, and it is mounted just above gutter level on a single-storey building and fed with thin cable, which is industrial quality. 19 Roger. These channel 3 lights coupled in with the squelch, I think these were the first set to do this, and I thought it was quite nifty at the time. Don't you, Roger? Well, as ever, there's talking and swearing on 19, no doubt at Nottingham. So we'll park that at channel 31, ready for Mr. Chippie to do an on-the-air test. So that will be able to find its way back to the customer then, tomorrow. So thank you for watching the Murphy DS602 from 1981, a great Universal Spares, Great Universal Stores special purchase.